Today, almost 10 years since a massive earthquake and tsunami struck Japan in 2011, the country is still struggling to decontaminate the radioactive mess that is the Fukushima Nuclear Power Plant. 3 of the plant's nuclear reactors went into meltdown when the tsunami broke through a seawall and flooded the plant. As the facility's cooling systems failed in the days that followed, the reactors melted down and tons of radioactive material were released. Much of that radiation was trapped in floodwater and water used to cool the runaway nuclear reactions. Most of the radioactive isotopes have been removed from the water by using a complex filtration process, but one isotope, tritium, cannot be removed, so the water has been stored in huge tanks which will fill up by 2022. Japan's government has now announced that it will have to release the 1.23 million tons of radioactive water into the ocean when its current holding tanks start to run over in 2022. Environmental and fishing groups oppose the idea, as they fear that the radioactivity in the water will harm sea animals and the people who eat these animals. However, many scientists say the risk that it would pose is low. China is planning to build 20 floating nuclear power plants in the South China Sea. Construction for the first one starts this year. According to Asia Times, Chinese authorities have officially announced plans to start building the first floating nuclear power plant in the South China Sea. These are designed to power surrounding artificial islands being built in the region. Floating nuclear power plants are offshore platforms containing small nuclear reactors built to power hard to reach islands or islets. Roughly 20 floating nuclear stations could be built to power troops and residents in the Spratlys and Paracel Islands. These regions are disputed between China, Taiwan, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Vietnam. Asia Times reports that the first floating nuclear reactor will be functional and seaworthy by 2021. A prototype is currently being tested off the coast of China's Shandong province. According to Chinese state news agency Xinhua Net, the first floating nuclear power platform would cost roughly $2.1 billion.
According to TEPCO, last week a probe touched melted nuclear debris in the damaged second reactor at the Fukushima nuclear plant for the first time since the disaster 8 years ago. According to the Asahi Shimbun, the purpose of this mission was to determine how solid the melted fuel is and whether it could be transported away from the site. The robotic probe designed by Toshiba weighs about 1 kilogram and is fitted with 3 centimeter long claws. It can extend 15 meters and lift pieces of up to 8 centimeters in diameter that weigh up to 2 kilograms. The probe is also equipped with a dosimeter and a camera. According to TEPCO, workers manually inserted the probe through a crack in the side of the No. 2 reactor's containment vessel. Workers then remotely operated the probe from a building close to the No. 2 reactor building. The probe lifted pebble-like nuclear fuel debris at 5 spots and failed to pick up debris in one area. The probe also touched melted fuel on the worker's scaffold below the reactor's pressure vessel. According to a joint central government and TEPCO plan, the retrieval process will start in earnest at one of the reactors in 2021. According to Bloomberg, full decommissioning of the Fukushima plant is expected to take 30 or 40 years.
After surviving a massive earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear meltdown in 2011, Japan's Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant is now dealing with 4 different leaks in its walls. According to NHK Japan, there are 4 coolant leaks at 4 different locations of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station. According to Tokyo Electric Power Company Holdings, also known as TEPCO, the coolant has been found seeping through pipes located in the nuclear station's underground wall of frozen soil. This wall surrounds the facility's reactor and turbine buildings. The leaks are specifically located in the pipes between the plant's No. 2 and 3 reactor buildings. TEPCO found the leaks in late 2019 after noticing a reduction in coolant liquids in its tanks. The company estimates it has lost a total of 20 cubic meters of coolant due to the leak. The cooling liquid is an important tool in disaster prevention for the plant. As it circulates through the underground pipes, it freezes the soil surrounding the reactor buildings. This keeps groundwater from flowing into the nuclear station. Although a leak at a major nuclear station sounds alarming, TEPCO assures that the chemical composition of the cooling liquid is commonly found in snow-melting agents and therefore is not harmful to the environment.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.